why we don't do everything in our power to ensure that Illinois shows up for Illinoisans. In fact, as much as I appreciate Illinois helping out people from Texas, the South Side and the West Side could use that same level of energy.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson yesterday at an unrelated event seeming to call into question leading Illinois Democrats holding news conferences with Texas Democrats when there's people struggling in the city of Chicago, and I would venture even to say in places like East St. Louis and so on. But it looks like the political spotlight's on the maps again. As we talked about yesterday with Illinois in Focus Daily, it's going to be something we're going to continue to address because it's probably going to be the storyline of the summer, especially when it considers national ramifications. So yesterday we evaluated some of what Governor J.B. Pritzker had to say with some Texas Democrats late Sunday when they flew into Illinois. And then later on in the day, as you'll find at thecentersquare.com, and don't forget to get the headlines in the newsletter each and every weekday morning. You can pick those up in your inbox. Go to thecentersquare.com, and you can see the headline there. Texas House Speaker signed civil arrest warrants for absconding Democrats after no quorum was reached Monday. They're hoping to round them up and bring them back to Texas. Among the things they're voting for, not just the political maps, but also relief from the recent devastating, deadly flooding that happened. So that's also on the docket down in Texas, but they can't get anything done because Texas Democrats fled the state to states like Illinois. So again, it's Illinois in Focus Daily. You can wake up with us each and every weekday morning here for Illinois in Focus Daily with the Center Square, where you can get the headlines and also the podcasts. But one of the headlines at the Center Square is Pritzker's call to hypocrite for sheltering Texas Dems over political maps. And it's going to continue. The governor has another news conference today. His political campaign, not the official office. And there's going to be some questions here as to how much coordination there is with the official office and his campaign and these Texas Democrats, and then what kinds of monetary exchange there might be, because even Texas Governor Greg Abbott is suggesting that it's bribery for Texas Democrats fleeing the legislature there to take money to avoid voting for something. Greg Abbott says that that's considered bribery, and maybe that's something they're going to address here. But ultimately, the question is about these maps, because the Texas Republicans are looking to possibly give Republicans nationwide a boost by changing the maps to draw the lines to favor Republicans. That way you get more Republican congressional seats out of a large state like Texas. And that's prompted Democrats across the country to react, saying, well, we should probably do that. Here's the thing. In Illinois, we already have, graded by several civic organizations, including Princeton, including Common Cause, as a failing map. A lot of talk about all of this. If you go to X, you'll see Congresswoman Robin Kelly had some Texas Democrats that she was rallying with. All right. You also have Raja Krishnamurthy. Both are running for higher office, and they're standing together looking to, they're actually running against each other in the U.S. Senate race, but they're standing with each other, standing against Republicans. So you've got this ongoing conversation that's going to dominate this summer. And even yesterday, you had Congressman Darin LaHood on stage at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs with Congressman Mike Quigley. And while they were talking about foreign affairs, they had to come back to this map issue. And LaHood, a Republican, said that it's hypocritical for people to say, Democrats in particular, like Governor J.B. Pritzker, to criticize Texas Republicans for wanting to draw legislative maps that favor Republicans when you've got Democrats doing just that in Illinois. Again, this is from yesterday with Congressman Darin LaHood and Mike Quigley discussing global affairs in Chicago.
It's a little bit hypocritical because we have one of the most gerrymandered maps in the country. That's not me saying that. That's every, Princeton University has come out and looked at. So we've had blatant gerrymandering in the districts that Mike and I serve in. Illinois used to be a very bipartisan congressional district. It's now 14-3, right? They created 3 super red districts. I'm in one of those red districts, but it was politicians in Springfield picking their voters instead of voters picking their politicians. So what we did in Illinois is blatant gerrymandering. It cannot be justified, and hopefully there'll be an effort to overturn that in Illinois. So I say that because both parties do this and engage in this. And I'm not following what's going on in Texas, but I think doing redistricting halfway through the decade, I think is, I don't think we should get in the pattern of necessarily doing that. I also have concerns about the constitutionality of redoing a map with the voters' rights. The Voting Rights Act being prescribed as part of that redistricting. So this will eventually end up in court.
So LaHood talking about how it's obviously going to be a contentious issue, but it's hypocritical for Illinois Democrats to criticize Republicans in Texas when Illinois Democrats do the same thing. What about the idea of fair maps? Now, keep in mind, back in like 2013, 2014, there was a big push, even before that, to have a constitutional amendment to the Illinois Constitution to require a fair map making council of sorts, a committee that would be independent and come in and evaluate the districts and draw the maps instead of having maps drawn in secret, which happened in Illinois in the most recent map making process. Democrats took it all behind closed doors and had them kind of draw out their districts, and then they went from there. And that process obviously was criticized thoroughly, but it didn't change the outcome because Democrats passed the maps that they wanted in Illinois, which meant giving Democrats safe districts, majority of safe districts, and Republicans have their minority safe districts, and there would be a few handful of competitive districts where Democrats would ultimately have the advantage. So you've got the fairness question. How do we get around doing fair maps? So we heard from Republican Congressman Darin LaHood, Democrat Congressman Mike Quigley. He talks about a national move to bring about fair maps.
There's a federal bill. There's a bill in Congress that outlaws maps like this. You know, if you want a bipartisan solution to this, there is legislation, and if it's not perfect, this is the time to sit and talk about it. How do you draw fair maps? I have served 3 terms in the minority when in that election, more Americans voted for a Democrat for Congress than a Republican by a wide margin. So there's a solution to this. And, you know, in a perfect ideal world, there's a bipartisan panel that draws maps the way they do in some states. And it's based on constitutional mandates, not political whims. So obviously the fact that you're doing it midterm makes it just worse. And you're dragging everything to the bottom. And I just don't, I think the Democrats are probably thinking, why should we unilaterally surrender? But we'd be all better off if it just took a beat and looked at this piece of legislation and said, if we're serious about this, let's see what the public really wants.
Will that lead to more conversation about the fair map making process? And honestly, how many out there understand what gerrymandering is? I think I was taught about it in a first blush in like 8th grade, maybe. You know, it was just a small little portion of the civics classes I was taking. And then, you know, as I got more and more politically conscious, I became more and more aware of it. And obviously, now I'm just absolutely inundated with political news as a news reporter and editor following a state house like Illinois. So I know a lot about gerrymandering and the map-making process. But this is the general public. Is this a story that the general public understands? Obviously, it's going to be interesting education over the summer as the debate continues, but we'll keep tracking it, especially in the state of Illinois here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Governor J.B. Pritzker has another news conference with his political campaign where he's going to be standing with Texas Democrats to talk about the Voting Rights Act. And also, sure, there's going to be more questions about the Texas map debate that continues to spill over into states like Illinois. All right, it's Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning to join the live chat and get the headlines in your inbox by going to thecentersquare.com and registering for that newsletter each and every weekday morning.